native video message. And now I'll pass the floor to our moderator for Roundtable Discussion 1, Mr. John Arnold Siena, Deputy Director of the Senior Secretariat, to provide a few words on the video. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ling. That was a very engaging video on how we use technology, AI in particular, in supporting the students' learning, but especially in making sure that our students are engaged with the material that they're learning, while at the same time making sure that they make connections. The learners are making connections with what they're learning, and that's how AI can actually potentially enforce and reinforce our students as well as our teachers. But anyways, going to our business this morning, I would like to welcome everyone to our Empowering Minds Roundtable on Generative AI and Education in Asia Pacific. So today we gather to explore the transformative potential of generative AI in the field of education across the Asia Pacific region. And as we embark on this journey, we recognize that we stand at the cusp of remarkable technological revolution. Generative AI, with its ability to create, adapt, and personalize content, has the power to reshape the landscape of teaching and learning. It offers a promising array of tools and solutions, such as those that have been presented by Dr. DeSerbo in the video, that can enhance educational experiences both for educators and students. However, we do recognize that there are challenges and risks that come with this generative AI. So in our first roundtable discussion, we will focus on the emerging landscape. In the words of Dr. Farial, let's take stock of what's there worldwide, globally, of generative AI and education. We will delve into the potential solutions and good practices that are currently being explored in the Asia Pacific region and beyond to integrate AI into teaching and learning. So our esteemed panelists, who are experts and thought leaders in the fields of education, technology, and AI, will share their insights, experiences, and research findings. So we are joined today by these four wonderful experts. Our first speaker, I will introduce them first, all of them, so that we'll have a smooth discussion later on. Our first speaker is Dr. Yu Lu. He's the Director of Artificial Intelligence Lab, Beijing University. And as you have seen, he is the author also of the book on AI and learning. Dr. Yulu received his PhD from the National University of Singapore in Computer Engineering. He is currently an Associate Professor with the School of Educational Technology, Faculty of Education, Beijing Normal University, where he also serves as the Director of AI Lab. He has published more than 80 academic papers and served as the track chair of PC member for multiple prestigious international conferences. Before joining BNU, he was a research scientist and principal investigator at the Institute for Infocom Research, A*STAR, Singapore. His research interests mainly sit at the intersection field of artificial intelligence and education. Our second speaker is Dr. Kenneth Lim, YT Lim, Senior Education Research Scientist, National Institute of Education, Singapore. Singapore is well represented here. Dr. Kenneth operates at the intersection of neuroergonomics, the learning sciences, and cognitive psychology. In 2023, his team was invited to share their work during UNESCO's Digital Learning Week in the session on preparing students and teachers for responsible use of AI. And he also facilitated the workshop in that session. In the same year, Kenneth was also invited by the World Bank to participate in Members' Day of the Education Alliance in discussions on the sustainable use of culturally appropriate technologies and low-resource contexts of learning. Our expert number three is Dr. Natalie Lau, Executive Director, App Inventor Foundation. Dr. Natalie Lau is the Executive Director of the App Inventor Foundation, nonprofit empowering students of all backgrounds to create mobile apps which uplift their communities. She received her BS and PhD from MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory for her research on AI education and inclusivity. At MIT, she co-created and taught MIT's Deep Learning Practicum course and led the trajectory team for MIT's Inclusive AI Literacy and Learning Project. Our fourth panelist is Bethany Drake Maples, founder of Atypical AI Fellow, Stanford Institute for Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence. Bethany is a recognized leader in the field of AI for education. She has a strong track record of developing AI technologies for learning, and her research extends to various labs at Stanford, and she's a fellow at the Stanford Institute for Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence. A published expert and esteemed speaker on AI, education, and intelligent social agents, she also advises international humanitarian and economic organizations. Her teaching experience spans underserved communities worldwide, from Uganda and India to Mexico. Bethany is a New Zealander, bringing a global perspective to her work. Let's proceed to Kenneth, who has a very interesting presentation as well, moving from just using AI and technology in the classroom, but pushing it forward to the affective domain of teaching and learning process. Kenneth, the floor is yours.
Hello, colleagues. Good morning, and I'd like to thank leading chef de section de UNESCO and also Simeo colleagues for affording all of us the opportunity to come address you and share with you our work today. Thanks also, John, for the very kind introduction, and to Victor for setting the stage and setting the bar very high. So without wasting further time, I'd just like to, I'm from the National Institute of Education in Singapore. We are the sole teacher education institute in Singapore because of our size. And today I'd just like to share with you a couple of examples of the good work that the teachers in Singapore are doing, and some potential ideas that you might be able to take away. So the floral arrangement is a little bit intrusive. Okay, so I thought in the spirit of generative AI, as yesterday Vikas was talking about possibly in the future, a vision that we might work towards would be what he called general artificial intelligence. Anyway, generative AI, but there's also generative human intelligence. So let's try to generate our own intelligence and I thought I'd just show you this very quick couple of seconds slide. And then I'm not going to ask for a poll of answers, but in your own mind, can you view the video, which will only last a couple of seconds, and then kind of like prognosticate or predict where I'm going with this video. Okay, yeah. So there's no soundtrack to it, so don't worry if you don't hear anything. Okay, the video is a bit jerky, but you get the general idea. I apologize for the slow frame rate. Okay, so we have this young gentleman here who is walking about, and he takes a photo of something that interests him. Where might I be going with this? So in an effort to link back to to connect the dots, so to speak, because this is technically the second day, although it's the first day of the roundtable. I believe Farrell shared this slide earlier. And Farrell, this was from your presentation. Yeah. Thanks, Farrell. So, Farrell in her slide, she talked about capacity building and teaching and learning, which are the second and third. I would like to connect this with the presentation that my presentation in terms of some of the things that I'm about to share with you are connected with capacity building of teachers, as well as teaching and learning at the level of the student's experience. And just trying to connect the dots. And likewise, Benjamin yesterday, he showed us this slide, which he talked about the spectrum from awareness to competency to knowledge to integration. And competency, of course, relates to capacity building and knowledge, and so there's knowledge and integration. But again, I'm trying to link back to what other people have already shared. So the slides that I'm about to share are to do with competency. And then he talked also about AI literacy and upskilling of teachers. So AI upskilling for teachers would obviously come under professional development, and AI literacy would be in terms of teaching and learning. Okay, so here we go. Now that I've said all that, here's the actual meat of the presentation. So I'll just very quickly skim through this slide because this is just like a scope. And we basically work with, my team works with teachers around the ASEAN region, as well as with local school leaders in Singapore, and with teachers and students to design collaborative learning environments, which are technology mediated. I'm not going to go through each bullet point. So here are just some examples of students whom we have worked with. And you can see that many of the examples are to do with investigating environments around their own schools, within their own school campuses, environments which are familiar to them. This aspect of the environments being familiar to them is important to our work, which links back to the preview video which I showed you just now. So I'm not going to go through this very much because I'm happy to make the slides available. And this definition of generative AI has been, I mean, we've spent the first 1.5 days talking about it already. So Singapore stands on generative AI in education. Okay, this is much better. So Singapore stands on generative AI in education. I'm not a member of the Ministry of Education, so I cannot really represent them well, but whatever I'm sharing on this slide is already in the public domain from their website. So again, I'm happy to share the slides with you. So suffice to say that apart from these general policy statements, which are advice from the ministry to our school leaders and to teachers, if I can, one of the aspects which is not in terms of advice through policy statements, but some other form is the support groups, which is the last bullet point. And so teachers in Singapore are afforded opportunities for support, both online and in person, within school and among schools. So for example, they have things called network learning communities, professional learning teams, and a very active Facebook support group. So these are all examples of, I mean, basically, I think one of the important ingredients for Singapore's success is that the teacher fraternity is very strong. And this doesn't really, it's not really a function of country size. So I know my country is much smaller than any of your countries. But if you, one possible takeaway might be to build the teacher capacity in terms of helping them connect with each other. Okay, then at our university, there's this whole thing here, which is very wordy. And again, I'm not going to go through this in the interest of time. Most of it is, again, some guidance statements to lecturers and academic faculty. Here are some pictures of, in the interest of teacher professional development, here are some pictures of how we have worked with, for example, teachers in West Java in Bandung, where obviously the technological infrastructure is very different from that of Singapore. But our work has been able to translate in a robust manner. And here are some more examples where we worked with, say, Hong Kong and Korea and the Indian subcontinent. Okay, now I'm going to go straight to the video which I shared with you. So basically this video is
an idea for it's more a provocation for you to catalyze your own possible ideas for what generative AI, building on what Victor said from Basic Normal. He showed us that wonderful example of the landscape generated from simple sketches. So building on that, plus incorporating elements of the Internet of Things and neuroscience. So what you're about to see would be the video. And learners using the Internet of Things, data science, and Gen AI to understand their own emotional states better with a view to developing empathy and environmental stewardship. Okay? And the IoT devices, which you can see pictures of, are deliberately primitive because they're conceptualized, designed, and built by the learners themselves. So these are young learners, much around the age of our esteemed guest Jia Xuan over there. So Jia Xuan, they're around your age, okay? Yeah. So this is a video which I'm now going to play to you. Okay. Okay, once we have this video, I'll end. So this is, I shall keep quiet. Okay, you get the general point. I hope there's not too much feedback and echo. So this connects with actually, for example, Bethany. Bethany comes from a university with a very strong background in maker culture. And this kind of connects also with Beijing Normal's work under Victor's leadership, where we have Gen AI being used to give learners the opportunities to express what they believe as the landscape depiction from an environment local to themselves. So it's kind of like synthesizing everything. And that's basically it, actually. The rest of the slide, yeah, earlier we had this. So you can see that, hopefully you can see that students were engaged. They were working they were managed to get immediate feedback because their physiological and neurological responses were being shown to them in real time. And they saw value in what they're learning because they themselves were responsible for the photographs that they took from around their local environment. And this basically is, I'll end here and I'll turn the time over to Natalie, who's going to give us a really exciting presentation, I know. Thanks so much for your time. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. Yeah, that was interesting how Kenneth's integration of AI has not just made the lessons interesting, but more importantly, also being able to connect to the students. And somehow he touched on student agency in allowing students to decide on what's important to them.